Guys, so I'm back with another optional video just because I'm having some fun with these spheres and I have like so much I want to show you. I don't know if you are interested or not. If you're having fun with it and you're like, oh, this is cool, Miss Jenny, and you're watching it, then that makes me so happy, even if it's just a couple of you. So, let me know. Okay, so I wanted to just talk about how to draw a textured ball just for fun, especially one like this. Right, so this ball is a sphere, but on it, it's like it has a whole bunch of like little tiny half spheres. Right, so when drawing something like this, let's see if I can turn it a better way. There we go. You see how it has like these gaps in between going across? Right, those would be a little bit curved, like we talked about how things that go across would be a little bit curved. And then they're a little bit further apart right in that middle. But as they get up into here, they kind of bunch together. There's not as much space in between them. Okay, and it also makes the shadow different. So like you can see the shadow back on this page, how it's all bumpy, whereas the shadow, oh, I already returned my other spheres to my son. I've been stealing his toys. Anyway, the other spheres would have been like a smooth shadow, right? So to draw something like that, it would be like having a sphere and then having a whole bunch of little spheres on it. Okay? So it would be a little bit easier than you think it would be. I have drawn a circle, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to shade it, and then on top of it, I'm going to add in a whole bunch more spheres. Now, these, though, aren't full spheres. These are like little domes sticking out, like a half circle, right? A little bit more pointed, almost like little blunt triangles. But I'm going to make mine more like domes and spheres. So like say I had this ball, right? And we were going to draw this. And I have this little dome shape from my son's nightlight that he's colored on. Right? So if I had it facing you right in the middle, there we go. Then it has similar shading. It's just like a half, right? And it looks like a full circle right in there. Notice that there's a little bit of a shadow right here. My hand's kind of in the way. There we go. You see that? How the shadow moves on the ball. But then as they get more and more to the side, you can see that it's not quite a circle. It's like a circle on this side, but then you can see more of that bottom rim. So it's actually more of like an oval shape. Or if it moves further over, right, not a full circle. It's like almost like how the moon changes cycles, because half of it we can't see it, right? So as it moves and it's on different sides of the ball, the shape will change. Right? Or if it's like more on the back of the ball. But I'm going to keep it decently simple, and I'm not going to do like a ton of little tiny ones like this one. I'm just going to do a few that are like this kind of proportion, this size to this size ball. Okay, so I'm going to go shade this with my pencil. I'm going to press down harder on the bottom in that like shaded curve, and I'm going to get lighter and lighter. Same kind of concept we covered with this one, kind of with these ones. with the planets. We talked about that kind of technique with this one, right? So, and then we also talked about pressing down harder and getting softer in that shading and relaxing video, which if you haven't done yet, would most definitely help with something like this. So take a look. I'm going to pause this and I will be right back once it's shaded. Then we will add in our bumps. Okay, so I've been shading my sphere. One thing I want to point out to you, let me see if I can get nice and close and show you. So we talked about lines for shading in the shadow box video, but you can see too that it does kind of apply to the pressure, right? Because where I'm pressing down harder, I have a lot more of it really close together. But when I start to get soft, I notice that I start to kind of get further and further apart with my lines, if you can see that. So I'm going to blend this. You don't have to blend, but I'm going to use my blending stump just to make it softer, and then I'll come back and we'll do some circles. Okay guys, so I have my circle shaded, right? I went in and I pressed down harder right around that curve with my pencil, and as I went in, I got softer and softer and softer and softer and softer. And then I did an extra little thing for fun, which is something that I went over a little bit with the lower grades, where I added in white, almost like a really long comma and a dot, like a semicolon, right in there to give it an extra little gleam of light so it looks a little bit more shiny. Totally optional, but it can be cool. All right, so we want to shade the whole circle first. And it doesn't need to be this big. I just made it big so you guys can see. And I traced a plate for mine, so that's why it looks so circular. I'm not that good at drawing circles, trust me. And then you want to shade the whole thing first, because even though it has all these little bumps on it, right, you can see that right in here, it's still darker, and it gets lighter and lighter and lighter up into here. So if we took those bumps away, it would still be a sphere. So you still want to shade the base sphere first. Then, on top of it, I'm going to add in some circles. Right, so, or some bumps. And, so let's see. I'm going to grab my ball, my dome. Okay, we're going to look and see again that if I have another circle on top, right, I see where it meets my ball or my sphere. It's a little bit curved, but it's much more rounded on the top. Whereas if it were to go this way, more straight on at you, it just looks like another sphere on the previous sphere. So depending on where it is, moves around, right, on the sides, in the front. And if you want to try and draw your own, you can always watch this video and pause and see the different positions. Right. So like if it was down towards the bottom, which way that would go on the sides. At a certain point, you don't see that bottom curve anymore, because then the sphere of the ball curves around. So it might be more on the back side. All right. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to add in a few of those. I'm not going to do them like super duper big because I realized I didn't leave much space up here. So I'm just going to do a row of them going across the middle. So maybe I'll do something like this chapstick. Okay. So I'm going to add in a couple. And if you want to, you can like faintly do a line to like remind yourself that there needs to be a curve to them. Right, so I'm going to have one right there. And then my next one right over there. And I'll have them going off to the sides. I'm going to have to move that highlight that I am now putting a ball on top of. And then over to the sides, the position kind of changes to be more of like that half circle. And then it sticks out. Right, I might have like another one back over there. I'm going to do this one a little higher up. Okay, so I have some little dome shapes sticking out. Right. So now that I have those, I'm going to go in and I'm going to erase everything that's inside of them. Because they will be like little spheres on their own. So I'm starting to erase what's inside of them. Do it over here. And over here. Okay. Right, and that's like the basis of it. It has a little bit of a curve, not like a super curve. I could have made it more of a curve. Like I feel like this one should actually be up higher, but whatever. It's okay. Right? And you can just do something like that where it's just one row. You could add in more above and below, but I'm just going to keep it kind of simple. Okay, so if I have my light on this side of my main sphere, then the highlight on all of my little spheres will be on the same side. Right, so this guy right here, I'm going to have it be darker at the bottom and on the sides by pressing down a little harder. And then as I go in, I'll get a little softer and softer and softer. Same thing with this one and all the other ones. So it's the same kind of shading I did in my sphere. I'm just doing it on a smaller level. Okay, so I'm going to pause. I'm going to go through and shade these, and then we'll talk about the shadows. Okay guys, so I've got in and added in shading. Right, so I'm going to bring this closer. And I think I might turn this off. There we go, you can see the shading better. So in each ball, each sphere looking bump that comes out, I shaded it same kind of way I would shade this, right? So it's darker on that side, except for where my light was. I didn't do the like circular part for the highlight. I did that little like crescent C shape because the light for these would be a little bit blocked, especially like over here. But you can also go in and do it more of that like circular shape too, right? Okay. So the only other thing to do once you have that is to add in shadows, right? So if my light's coming from over here, because this is where my highlight is on my sphere and my bumps, then the shadow is going to be on the opposite side, right? So I would have like a shadow right below this one, a little bit of a shadow over on this side, right there. So on the opposite side where the light is coming from. Then you can have your sphere look like it's just like hanging out in the air. Or if you wanted to, you could add in like a shadow below it. Mine would just go off the bottom of the page. It would kind of angle this way. But it would go off the bottom of the page because there's not as much room. Here, I'm gonna fill this in. When you're shading really big areas like this, you can see a lot of your pencil lines. So that's another time that I really like to use the blending stick. Alright, so like if I went in, use my blending stick to kind of soften it, blend it better. You can do it in like circular motions. And then you have a shadow. Okay. And it's all these things that really help make it look more realistic and 3D. The biggest part, though, isn't really the shadow. The shadow helps make it look like it's on something. But the biggest part to making this look more realistic and 3D is the lighting and the shading. And without that, it is just a circle. Okay. So, just to show you where you can take it, I'll turn this back on. Where you can take it, keep practicing, and you'll get there. Have a good day.